there, how are you doing? Well, I hope. Well, it's absolutely pouring down with rain today, so I can't really film on my walk, so I thought it'd be an ideal chance to do another of these punk story time things. This is the second part. In the last one I was talking about doing this gig in Germany, so I'll talk a bit more about that holiday today. Well, it was kind of like an exchange trip between Manchester punks and German punks from this town called Fulda. And there's probably about 12, 15 of us in each group, and they come to Manchester. Then we went over to Germany and did all sorts of things. I was actually staying on this farm in Germany, just outside a place called Fulda. And it was like a hippie farm. I say that because there was like several hippie families who kind of rented it between them. And they were all cool people. But they were more our hosts than the people we were doing the exchange with. And so we were staying on this farm. Like I said, there was a few families running it together. And being hippies, they were growing all kinds of natural produce. So the food was really good as well there. So we all slept in this big barn, about 15 of us from Manchester. And it was on the top floor, and there was like mattresses everywhere, so we just had like sleeping bags and that kind of thing. The only thing that was unusual was the toilet arrangements. Now the toilets were in the main house where the hippies lived. So, you know, I go in the house one day to use the toilet, so I sat on the toilet having a poo, and I noticed that the window in the toilet, it was like plain glass. There were no curtains or blinds or anything. It was just like looking out into the garden area. And I thought, this is unusual, bit weird. So I sat on the toilet, and this hippie woman walks past and goes, "Hi." So I was like on the toilet, I was like, So I was like, yeah, didn't know where to look or what to do. So anyway, we're chatting amongst us, and there's a few people kind of found that weird and uncomfortable. And apparently amongst the hippies, it was like, okay, they didn't see any problem with this, and, you know, it was fine. But we were like a bit more prudish from the UK. So I think some of the girls tried to hang towels up and stuff over the window when they're on the loo. And us lot, the lads, we all used to go off into the woods nearby. It was very near. And we'd have a crack there and a bit more privacy, until one of us pointed out that there's a good place to go. There's this like shed that the hippies used to put spare tyres and stuff in for the tractors. And if you went in the shed, there's like a stack of 3 tyres, and if you sat on there, you could use that as a toilet and poo in there. So if we was all doing that all week with punks, so we was kind of laughing as well. We just thought it'd be funny that the hippies had this surprise when they come to change the tyre on the tractor. Horrible lot that we were at the time. We was all young. We was all like, I think 25 was probably the oldest end of the group, and I was towards that end. There was someone who was a lot older than us from Manchester, and he was coming as kind of a mentor kind of thing, I think. But anyway, that's where we were staying on this farm. It was actually really great for us just being in a different country, different culture at the time. I can remember in the nearby town, Fulda, we'd go there and we went to the pub one night, and it was, I think it was called the Sun Inn. And we goes there, and you've got these big 2-pint steins. I think that was Ein Gross beer, was one large beer. So you get like 2 pints, and it was, I think they just marked it. The barmaids come round and just marked what you'd bought for your table on your beer mats, and then they'd add it all up at the end of the night. And I think it was just like on a trust basis. But I suppose if they found out someone was a liar, they wouldn't be able to do that again. But it kind of worked anyway. I thought it was pretty cool. So I do remember on that trip we did some kind of more educational elements. I can remember we visited one of the Nazi work camps, like a concentration camp basically, called Buchenwald, and that was a really sad, weird day. I think we was all thoroughly depressed, seeing what sort of bad stuff had happened to people in World War II. I can remember it was in the middle of this forest and it was absolutely silent in the forest. There was no birds, which was really odd. And you got this camp where they murdered all these people in the middle, and it wasn't a good experience. It was really depressing and sad. But I think it was important for us to see that and to witness it, so you know how bad things can get with racism and oppression if things get out of hand, and that was the worst example. So although it was sad, I think it was important, and an important bit of education for us all to see it and just reaffirm our anti-fascist views. A sort of sad note to that was on the way back. Like I said, there's about 15 of us punks all dressed up, studded jackets and our hair and everything, and this really elderly old bloke, German geezer at the airport on the way back, he come up, he looked at us all smiling and did the German Nazi salute thing, the Sieg Heil, and he obviously thought we were some kind of fascist, and we're all like going, no mate, we're not into that shit. And he walked off looking really disappointed, going, nine? And that was a bit of a sad note on that he's obviously some kind of Nazi. And I mean, we come across fascists at the gig there when they were trying to come to our gig to wreck it and cause trouble. So yeah, a bit of a sobering note, especially after visiting the Nazi work camp. So something really cool that I remembered from that trip is we visited this monastery right up in the hills, more like mountains and hills, and I think it was kind of either in Bavaria or on the border of the Bavarian region. Anyway, we go to this monastery to visit, and I think the reason we went there is because the monks there brewed their own beer. Now, when I say monks, these guys were walking around, they're in the proper monk robes, like proper monks, but they're all like smiling all the time, seemed dead happy. And it's because they were brewing this beer and obviously tasting it, and served it in these big earthenware 2-pint flagons, and it was like special brew. It was about 9%, something like proper strong beer, really nice too. So we all sat there on a nice sunny day drinking that, and I remember as we first walked up there was a load of German old guys drinking. Some of them had the traditional German leather shorts on and the hats and everything, and they were all drinking merry, and they saw us and they started singing, and they saw all those punks coming and they started singing some song in German, and we're all a bit like, what are they singing? And one of the German punks translated for us that they were singing some song about Native American Indians. So it's kind of nice in a way, even though it was not quite right. But I think they meant well by it. And I'll just say a point about the German punks that were doing these exchange trips with. They were all kind of our sort of age, under 25, and they were all a really cool bunch of people, and we all made good friends on those trips. Also, I remember on that trip, when we first got to the farm, there was all these hippies in the 40s, 50s. I remember we were all like youngsters, and we saw these 40, 50-year-olds digging some kind of hole in the ground. It's like watching them for ages, and they started lighting so we could put it in, and apparently they were smoking weed, and apparently they'd made something called an earth bomb or something when they were burning it underground and like sucking it through a hole. And it was like, to us, like watching these 40, 50-year-old hippies doing that, it was just like really bizarre. I mean, the lengths people will go to get a new kind of way of getting high. But yeah, it was funny. They were all nice people, the hippies, really. They had quite a few different dogs on the farms, like quite unusual shapes and sizes. And we all used to stroke the dogs and feed them bits and bobs. A lot of us were vegetarian at the time, and it's not as big in Germany at the time, vegetarianism, but they all really tried, the hippies, making us like vegetarian food and stuff. So they were really nice, cool people, and they liked the fact that we're feeding bits and bobs to their unusual assortment of dogs. They thought we were quite nice people because of that. But yeah, nice memories from those times. So I'm coming to the end of this episode now. So if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and keep yourselves very, very safe at the moment with everything that's going on. And I'll catch you on the next video. Bye.